Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 69. Today we are going to be doing nice little battles with the Sundisk, but before that begins, before we start that up, the champion Bard has been released. And so we're going to stop and talk about Bard for a little bit. If you don't care, feel free to skip ahead in the video. But I think this is an interesting champion, right? This is one of the new factionless champions, much like we saw with Jhin. He has the origin ability that has a different deck building style than we would see out of the factions. And so before we talk about that, Bard is big on the chimes, and so Mobalytics doesn't have the chime card up as much as I could find, but it basically functions like a trap for your deck. And so there's traps in the game. That's the key word where the card attaches to your opponent's deck. So you get to attach puff caps, you get to attach flashbang traps to cards in your opponent's deck. With the chimes, those are a boon. Boons attached to cards in our deck tend to provide, or what I assume will provide, positive effects. And so the chimes attaches to a card in your deck, and then when you draw that card, it gives a random unit in your hand +1/+1. And so that's what the chimes do. If we switch over to his origin abilities, it says you may put any cards that plant chimes into your deck during deck building. And so that is the thing where we saw it with Jhin. His deck building restriction was followers that have play abilities. Here we see with Bard, it is any card, not just followers, any cards that put chimes into your deck. And so we'll see how that plays out. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But then the big thing, and what I think is the big payoff in terms of Bard, is this round start ability. And so with round start, you plant a chime into your deck for each Bard that started the game in your deck. So your deck starts with 3 Bards in it. Each round start, you get to plant 3 chimes in it, and then your deck just gets more powerful and more powerful as each turn goes. And so that is, to me, the big thing with Bard. We'll talk about more of his abilities once he's actually in play, but this is pretty new and pretty interesting to me, and that we get some kind of passive ability the entire game without even drawing the champion. And so I think the first thing that will come up with Bard is how much do we even care about the champion itself, right? Does this ability warrant playing a bad champion, right? What if he was a 10 mana 1/1 with this ability? How would we feel about that? And that's tough for me to kind of process, tough for me to kind of understand. We just haven't seen this ability before. Do we really want to start playing a bunch of card draw and a bunch of cycle to try and churn through the boons a little bit faster? Probably not. It's a little bit different as we see throughout card games. Giving our stuff positive abilities tends to be a little bit worse than just killing our opponent. And so that was kind of one thing, right? If we want to compare gaining life to dealing damage to our opponent, it's always more powerful just to deal damage to your opponent. And so I don't think that we'll see a lot of like big full-on build-arounds in terms of just drawing the chimes. But it does leave a little bit of interesting design space as we play a lot of decks that contain like Zaunite Urchins and Sump Dredgers. We've been playing a lot of the discard-based Scion deck these days. And does this ever find a space to where maybe we just aren't playing like Draven, we are playing Bard, and then we're playing a lot of just like natural cycle in our deck, because it's good with things like Flame Chompers. Like, I would be really stoked to have a Flame Chompers in my hand and have it spike some of these charms and then burst it into play and do some cool shit like that. And so I think that's going to be kind of the telling and interesting part with Bard is how bad of a champion or how bad of a card are we willing to play to add this ability into our deck. And I think it's going to be an ability that's fairly strong. And so if we switch back to Bard, oh no, not the back alley barkeep. Here we go, back to Bard himself. The rest of his kit plays kind of interestingly with this. When he attacks, he plants more chimes into your deck. I feel like for him to feel pretty safe in terms of attacking, he needs to have the 3 attacks. So you probably want to pop off one charm onto Bard, or one chime onto Bard before he attacks. Then he gets to the point to where he kills most of the units in the game. And so once you've got that point, a 9-stat 4-drop that does something else, not that bad. Is it something that we would accept out of a champion? No. But is it something that we would accept out of this deck building ability that lets us play all of the factions and this passive ability that seems pretty strong? I think that would be pretty okay. His flip side, plants more charms and then makes them basically do double work, putting additional stats onto your units on board. The only thing I have to say with these attack abilities is we've seen this with like support in terms of it's only good on your attack token, and so if you aren't getting value out of this on your opponent's turn, then it's a bit weaker. Having this big pile of stats makes Bard at least a little bit more interesting, right? If we saw something like Pix or Young Witch, they don't really do well on our opponent's turn because they don't do well in combat, but Bard has enough stats to be kind of interesting, and so I think that'll be okay. And then his flip ability is quite strong as well. We used to see this quite a bit with whatever the plunder card is that puts stats on the units in the top of your deck and you draw a follower. Drawing followers kind of does double duty in a deck like this, to where your boons don't do shit if you don't have if you don't have a unit in your hand, and so having access to units in your hand is pretty strong. This is a pretty powerful cycle ability as well, and so I think Bard is pretty interesting in those terms. I think he's going to be interesting. I like a lot of the abilities that are attached to him. My thing, what I think we're going to have to kind of see with Bard, and what I think he's going to need to be successful, is throughout the history of the game, just stats aren't enough, right? We see this with elites. We see this with a lot of the base Demacia decks, a lot of the base Freylord decks. You get your 4 Yetis on the board. You have 4 5/5s down, and your opponent just kind of says, "Yeah, I don't give a shit. I'm gonna block with this value generating 1/1, and then I'm just gonna keep on doing my thing." And so one of the things that we've talked about quite a bit in terms of like beating the Sundisk deck and making a lot of these cards relevant is you have to have something with Elusive or Overwhelm, or you have to be able to attack twice with rallies. And so I think that's what we're going to see a lot of with this Chime ability is if there's not some other kind of like build around aspect to it, if there's not another card or additional cards that say, hey, do something neat when a Chime happens, we're going to have to look towards those abilities. And so when it comes to like initial deck building and like where do we fit in Bard as the game starts, I think we're going to have to look towards those 3 things. And so you're going to look towards elusives, we're going to look towards a bunch of big overwhelms, or we're going to look towards some way to get rallies. And so I think that's the way that we'll kind of showcase Bard, and the way that we'll look to initially build around him. But interesting stuff, and it did make me want to stop and make a kind of a sidebar, a little side note on this. Every time I get to the Reddit, it just makes me sad. I was reading through the Bard comments, and it's just, of course, the standard cesspool that we run into of negativity. And the kind of like side note I wanted to make on this is we started to see this in Magic more and more frequently, as to where they make things that aren't necessarily made for you. And I know that that's kind of like a tough pill to swallow, but as a competitive magician, you see cards like the Commander cards come out. You see casual draft formats come out like Conspiracy, and you want to be a part of it, right? You don't want to miss out on all these cool things coming out, but it's something that's just not for you, and that's sucks. It's okay. But that's kind of the way of the world. And we haven't seen that so much with Runeterra, just because it's a new game. But you do see a lot of stuff like, my friend who's played competitive card games for 10 years had to play this Path of Champions before he could start playing the game. And it's like, well, it's unfortunate that you had a bad experience, but it sounds like this Path of Champions intro is really positive for the game in terms of bringing in new players. And so where this kind of like tangent is going in terms of does this card matter for me, I have kind of like 2 things in terms of Bard. Number 1, the factionless thing is new. You need some kind of way to explain this factionless thing. And let's say that we're pretty new to the game. We don't have a big collection. We played League of Legends for years. Bard was our favorite character. We come and jump in and want to start building around Bard. Now he has this like deck building thing attached to him, to where you may need to go back to the beginning of the game. The 2 years of cards might be necessary for his card pool, right? We know that that's not the case with Chimes. This is a new thing. But like in terms of Jhin, say you're coming into the game because you love Jhin, you need a full collection to really take advantage of Jhin. If you want to build around and brew and tool around with Jhin, you need access to a full collection. But that's not the case with Bard, right? There's only like 6 or 7, or by the time the full set's released, maybe there'll be like 8 or 10 chime-based cards, and it's not that challenging to say, okay, I can collect every single chime card and build around Bard in the way that I want to. And so I think in terms of explaining the factionless thing, really kind of driving home how this factionless thing works, it's great. In terms for newer players or full free-to-play players or whatever that don't have full collections, it's pretty accessible. And then there's also, the concept that maybe this just isn't for you. Maybe Bard was designed not to be a big time competitive unit. Maybe he was designed to be really interesting in the Path of Champions. I don't know. But just because the card doesn't like immediately fit into the scope of what you want a good card to be, doesn't mean that this is a bad design and doesn't mean this is a bad card. I would love it if Riot just printed another Legion Rearguard, right? That would fucking make me happy in the loins, if you will. But, I can see that these cards come out. I can see them print a card like Piercing Darkness and say, oh, that one's not for me. I'm not playing a drain. I'm just going to talk shit about people that want to play control decks. That's kind of my style. And so it doesn't mean that Piercing Darkness is a bad design. It's just not a card for me. And I think a lot of those concepts apply to Bard. And it's just the typical cesspool of shit that you see on Reddit of people just trashing on something they don't like or don't understand, or something that wasn't potentially meant for them. But with that rant aside, we can continue on with the rest of the cards. Some of these are pretty interesting. We have Bird the Bellringer. I don't think this is too powerful on its own, right? We see a lot of cards, a lot of these one-drop space cards to where they generate some kind of value. And I don't think the Chime really fits in unless you're doing the full Chime build around. And so you can find, easy uses for the guys that generate Reforges. You can find easy uses for the guys that generate the Waking Sands, right? You make a Waking Sands, you might want to discard it. You might want to use Reputation. You might want to activate Azir. You might want to use it to level up your Viego. There's loads of things you can do with Waking Sands. Not as many options with Chime. It's not a physical card. And so if you aren't quite playing to the Chime build around, this may not be that powerful of a thing. But we'll have to see how the Chimes play out. There is some potential here, but I think this is going to be one of the weaker end of the spectrum of the one-drops and be a pure Chime build around kind of card. Esmus, like even worse. There is some potential here, right? If we're looking to say play a Taric Bard deck, maybe we want to get some usage out of Mountain Sojourners and have the full on elusive thing kind of happening. Sure, maybe there's some potential there. But this is another one I don't see a ton of love for. I don't see a ton of power coming out of Esmus. We just had limited use out of these zero attack units, and then as we kind of mentioned earlier, and in Bard with the likes of things like Pix and Young Witch, just doesn't do anything on your opponent's turn, and this is kind of like doubly so, right? If your opponent's playing any challengers and they just get to pick this off for free, it's a pretty bad place in the world being a zero attack unit. With the next one, Mystic Vortex is what looks to be the big kind of build-around aspect to these. I think the Mystic Vortex is interesting in multiple ways in terms of you have landmark-centric cards like Chip. The way that we typically talk about landmark build-around kind of things is does this get generated or does this replace itself? And so we look towards cards like Preservarium that replace itself. We look towards card like Ruin Runner that generates a landmark. And so having a landmark that replaces itself with some upside is kind of interesting. And then if we're going for just the full Chime thing, planting 9 Chimes seems like a lot for a 2-mana investment. And so I think if any of this Chime stuff works, Mystic Vortex is going to be a big reason that it does. But this is also one of the cards I could see breaking out of just the Chime-based build-arounds. And actually working in some of the landmark-based builds. With Meduli, this is one that I completely can't I can't wrap my brain around, right? If we look at something like Naga Gaborgamos, whatever that guy's called, you can kind of like see the light at the end of the tunnel in terms of this just like winning the game. And that's tough to see out of something like Meduli. Now, this isn't just like a big epic. This shouldn't be the big Chime build-around winner. I would expect to see a big Chime build-around epic at some point in the future, but this isn't it. And so it's tough for me to kind of evaluate this, but doubling the boons in your deck is a pretty powerful thing. But my downside with all of these boon things is twofold. Number one, again, you need that overwhelm, elusive, or rally. Meduli doesn't produce any of that. We would have to look to another card for that. And then the second thing is with cards we saw like Greenglade Elder, is to where you play a curve, you play a 1-drop, you play a 2-drop. Then by the time you play Elder, you don't have as many options in your hand to give the bonus to. That play pattern doesn't exactly work with the chimes. You get to kind of pick and choose who gets to hang out into your hand. You can choose to just not play units so that you get the bonus, but this ability can realistically put you in a spot to where you just don't have any units in your hand. And even though you did double the number of boons in your deck, you don't have anything in your hand to put the bonus on. And so with this one, I'm kind of skeptical of it being good. Doubling anything is a pretty powerful ability, but I'm not like seeing this as I look at it from the start. And the last one, what I think to be pretty interesting, strong for Bandle City and strong in general, is the Cosmic Binding. It's a 5-mana fast, stuns something, deals 2 damage to something else, and then plants 3 chimes on random cards in your deck. Now, this is a powerful ability. Stuns are always good. This is at least something that can't be generated by Conchologist, and it can't be generated by Pharaoh's Fancier, but it's still a pretty powerful ability. We've seen quite a bit of usage out of these stuns. We've seen quite a lot of power when these cards get combined together, so combining together like Mystic Shot and a Concussive Palm kind of card. And I think this is definitely going to see some play. Now, I think the kind of key thing to note with this is I keep looking at it and think it's a Targon card. It isn't. I have it like stuck in my head that this is like the new double stun thing out of Targon. It's not. And so it's in Bandle City, which is sort of a stronger faction, if you will, than Targon. And then it does the chime thing. And so this is kind of like part 2 of what I was on with my Bard rant, in that, there'll be some chime stuff in the future. As we saw with Teemo, when the game first came out and we were first kind of like wrapping our head around traps and puff caps, that was the only way to do it, right? You didn't really want to play them outside of a Teemo-based deck. But then more cards came along. We got to see additional traps with the flashbang traps, and we do see some usage out of the puff caps in non-specific Teemo decks. And so I do have a feeling that we will start to see more of these chime effects in the future, not just for Bard support, but as just kind of not a build around kind of effect, but a positive boosting effect for some of these cards. And so, we see cards like Poison Dart that catches some play on occasion. It's kind of interesting because it gets generated by Conchologist. It was super interesting when it was on the Bandle City Dart Maker that had to get nerfed. And so I think that there's a realistic opportunity and shot that we'll see a lot of these chime cards in the future. And then we're going to have to like circle back and reevaluate Bard here in 2 months and 4 months as the rest of the set is released. But interesting stuff. Can't wait to give him a shot. I think the last champion that is supposed to be up is Annie. Super stoked for that. We love all the Noxus champions and all the things that get us out here and attacking. Why not attack with some flaming bears while you're at it? Throw the little teddy bears at our opponent, make them go boom and stuff. So pretty amped up and excited for that. And so with that being that, let's go ahead and jump in. We'll get to the battles with the Sun Disk. So yeah, the Sun Disk. I'm sure everyone is familiar with it at this point. It's been a deck that's been not at the top of the meta in terms of success for ages now, but just in terms of play rate, and it's wild. It's wild to me. I've never had this happen in any of the competitive card games we've ever played. Just having a deck basically rise to the top of the meta is a meme, right? It's not that this deck was like particularly powerful. Like it did take people a week or two to figure out how to actually come out and beat it. But man, like nothing has ever held so strong as just being on the back of just being a meme. And so like it's wild in those terms, and it still holds up. On the screen here, it says it's like a 50% win rate. That's that maybe holds true in the lower ranks. I don't know exactly what the win percentages are calculated from here. but in Masters it certainly doesn't hold true. And so we did have some wild times with this. I never made a video with it, but it was certainly the most largest part of the meta here in recent times, and it really shaped how the meta was going to come forth with the basically any slow deck, anything that couldn't win the game by like turn 8 or turn 9 was just going to lose. And then all of the aggressive decks had to figure out how to win with overwhelms and elusives and stuff. And so it was pretty wild and interesting. But nonetheless, I won't dig in too deeply into the deck list here. The only, I feel like, real decisions coming about this these days, and I am certainly not a master at this deck, as to whether or not you're going to play 3 Azirs or 2 Azirs and 1 Zillion. We'll just go ahead and keep it vanilla and go with the 3 Azirs here. And then the other question is if you're going to play any amount of countdown reduction, right? So if you want to play Imagined Possibilities, if you want to play Clockwork Curator, those options are out there. We're running this version here that plays Imagined Possibilities. It does work with some of the other cards we're playing, be that Ancient Preparations, the Preservarium, or a landmark generated by the Endless Devout. And so it has some minor combos in here, does help punch the Sun Disk out a little bit faster, but we're not going all in on the flip with the Curator and the other countdown reduction kind of things. Otherwise, pretty straightforward. I don't want to delve into the deck list too much. I do want to delve into paying the pay-to-win price. And so we do have to pay it. As we've been talking about Imagined Possibilities, this is it's an interesting one, right? It's one that we just hard passed on 100% of the time in Expedition. And now that it's into Constructed, it's going to have to get the treatment. And so it would have been a nice one in Expedition, right? Just generating a landmark, having a premium card make a premium, that's about as good as it gets. But we never drafted it because it was just complete dog shit. And speaking of Expedition and the Sun Disk, I know that like it was tough to get, right? You can come into Constructed and just bring the Sun Disk with you, but in Expedition, that was a tough way to actually have it come about, was you basically either had to open that Xerath archetype, which Riot completely fucked up, or you had to have an Azir and then hope things just went your way. But I think I got to draft the Sun Disk like 3 or 4 times. I don't think I ever took one past like 2 wins. It was wild how bad our win rate was with the Sun Disk. But it was before the change to Azir, and so he is a little bit stronger. But here it is. We're ready for it. We're ready for the movie. He just surrenders. Dude, look at that. Taking it down. I'm counting it. Count that as a win. See, the screen says victory. I'm going to take it. He says, I ain't watching the movies. I don't got time for that shit. I love it. I love it. Okay, on to some action Lee Sin. What do we got here? Another reasonable early game start. I don't want to hold on to the Hourglass. We don't really care about protecting the Treasure Seekers or the Rock Hoppers. We'll try to find something a little bit more interactive. Just quits. He says, no thank you, bust. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that was brutal in Expedition. That was what really got me to kind of like realize things weren't as they were meant to be. If you don't know what I'm talking about, the way that it would work in Expedition was there were the archetypes, right? Every champion was associated with an archetype. And so if it was a 2-champion pairing, the way that it would work was, say, you were in a Shurima Ionia pairing. That would be like Blade Dance or Token Attacks. And you pick one, a Token Attacks Azir. Now, in the second pack, you're going to see an Ionian champion. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be Irelia, but you're going to see an Ionian champion. And the thing that Riot did was they put the Sun Disk in an archetype that wasn't just Xerath only. They didn't do anything to ensure that your archetype, your second pack, I should say, was going to have a Shuriman champion. And so you could take pack 1, you take Xerath, he comes with the Sun Disk because that's the way it works, and then you stop and read the Sun Disk. It says start of game, summon one of me if it's all Shuriman. And then you go and open pack 2, and there's not a Shuriman champion anywhere. So you just have to take an off-faction pack and then you're just stuck with the Sun Disk for the rest of the run, and it was horrifically bad, horrifically bad. I don't get why Riot didn't kind of like figure a way out around that and just completely ruin it. Oh wow, that was not how I expected that play to go. I was going on and on about Expedition, and I was like, well, I'm going to hook this guy. He's got 2 mana. I assume that he's just going to play Twin Disciplines, but I'm okay with that. Not the case. He said, just kill my Eye of the Dragon, please. All right, I'll take all the summons I can get. Is he going to do it now? You'd rather have the Vagabond than the Twin Discipline, not the Twin Disciplines, the Eye of the Dragon. Wild. Wild, I tell you. But there it is. The curve's coming together nicely enough. We can play the Rockhopper next turn. If he plays a juicy unit into the Rockhopper, we can still hook it with the Waking Sands. And we're building up nicely. We do have to watch against this. There is a chance that they'll play something like Homecoming. Homecoming is able to bounce the Buried Sun Disk, but I don't think we're quite worried about it, especially at this stage. We haven't played any of the champions yet, so we'd have a bit of time to rework it if we need to. I think we're in a good spot, though, now. I'm ready to watch the movies. God, I bitched about that so much. It's like, I don't know if I should feel bad about it or not in terms of I just go on about all the cesspool that's Reddit, and then we just come out here and start bitching about stuff. Let me tell you how I feel about some of these cards. God, that movie. Okay, it's okay when we're doing it. We're expecting it now, but when you're just out there grinding and you have to watch the movie, feels bad. Feels bad. All right, Brodio, what you got for us? No trades today. It says Rockhopper, you get to run free. I'm okay with that. But from this point forward, we'll want to be pretty careful with this Rite of Negation. We don't want our Sun Disk to get boomed on here. We're getting pretty close to the flip on both of our champions, and so as soon as we're able to draw them, we should be in a pretty good space. No champions here. I am okay to just pick up Unraveled Earth, I think. Just have some cycle, get our Azir leveled up the rest of the way. The Soothsayers, it would be nice to boost or to protect the Sun Disk. I just don't think it's necessary at this point when we already have the counter spell. Okay. We can safely send the Rockhopper in front of this. Even if he has the Shape Stone, his attack's going to be too low. Ripperina? Who even needs the Sun Disk? You don't even need to use it. Nice. And, oh man, speaking of Salt, so I've been on this real kick here recently talking about control deck players and how all they do on the weekend is just sit around and play chess with themselves. Like I love the joke on so many levels. It's just chess is it's a thinking man's game, but it has the social aspect to it to where you have to actually have another human being to play the game with, but these people can't for whatever reason come forth play an actual game with another human, so they just sit at home on the weekends and play chess by themselves. Love it. And so I'm looking to travel to St. Louis here in a few weeks. And turns out, and looking at things to do in St. Louis, they have I don't know if it's the National or the World. I guess it's the World. You can call it the World if you want it to be. But the World Chess Hall of Fame or the World Chess Museum, something along those lines. I was like, oh, fuck. So they're never going to welcome me to St. Louis if we keep up this attitude of just talking trash about these people. So that one guy in St. Louis he's out there being salty. He says, "I already hate you, Bust. I already hate you. The Royals suck." He says, "You got a football team and we don't. Now you're out here trashing on chess. Say, we can't have any of that, my dude. But, all right, with the happenings here, I don't want these Marauders growing. I was kind of hoping that we would find a way to just kind of save the mana and get Xerath going, but it's not going to be the case. I want to boom this thing before it's able to attack. So let's just go ahead and take it down. Well, we could realistically go Mana Gem, but the 2/2's not going to be that big of a deal. All right, we'll go Landmark. Okay. It at least takes him a bit of time to build up to the other one now. All right, we've boomed 2 landmarks. Got 5 summons. Got a bit of work we have to do here. Big Xerath. Okay. I don't think he can interact with him. Like, we could be safe and just go ahead and play the Azir and drop the Hourglass next turn. I think that's fine. I'm not exactly sure what this guy's removal suite's going to look like. It shouldn't be enough to just take the Xerath down, but it doesn't hurt to just play it safe a little bit. Alright, so I definitely want to keep this Rite of Negation mana up now. I mean, I think it's fine to just drop Xerath. Can't hurt. We're never attacking with him, though. Let's go ahead and get this attack in with the Clockling. Make sure we get the summon, and then we'll follow up with Xerath. Getting close. Getting close. I mean, if we blow up a landmark, we can kill the Legion Marauder. It's not going to be the weakest one ever, though. We'd have to start putting it on the Forge Worker. Alright, we can start with this. Do we want to drop an Hourglass this turn? I'd like to get the Xerath flipped as soon as we can. I think it's okay. Probably not even a real reason to play the Hourglass. I don't really want our Xerath hanging out with damage on him, and then our opponent having Scorched Earths, but I think this is fine. Let's do this. Let's get the kill, and then we'll see if we can't take down the Legion Marauder next turn. Oh, okay. Well, JK. LOL, no thanks. Another one? Oh, my dude. No, thank you. Okay, we can get the second Xerath down now. Should be safe. He's only got 2 mana, so he's not going to be dropping Scorched Earths on us. How many summons do we need? 1 summon gets us the Azir flip. We're going to be a little short on the Xerath flips, though. We could, like, generate a landmark with the Imagined Possibilities and see where that gets us. I think that's okay. I'm not really doing anything here otherwise. Something cool right on top. Don't really want any of these. I think the Endless Devout's probably our best option here. Give us a chance to sacrifice it off. Yeah. Let's get ready to watch that movie. Just gotta destroy a landmark and we're there.
Let me know if you still want them science lessons, Chase.
Will do, Axel.
Axel? Who the fuck's Axel? Is that our bro over here? Our nicely chiseled forge worker? Is that actually Axel? Oh, well, good for you, my dude. Good for you. All right. Not awesome, but I think we're still in an okay space here. We might find ourselves having to Rite of Negation Acceleration Gate, but we'll see. We'll see how he comes out here. At least makes me feel a little safer if he's dropping Acceleration Gates. Like, it's like, is this deck ever like realistically playing Scorched Earths? Like, it could, but I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical. We don't really need the mana gem at this point. Okay. Uh-oh. Takes a little Xerath, sure. Alright, we're still reasonably healthy. This isn't that big of a deal, I don't think. I mean, we could probably get away without even blocking with the Xerath. Okay. I'm on board. Oh no, okay. you just see that post-combat mana come down and you're like, oh no, he's gonna Sundisk me. Alright, settle in. Let's watch the movie. Enjoy it. Yeah, so good. So good when we're the ones doing it. Draw some stuff. Oh yeah. Nice. Now, did we pick up anything cool? It just such a common play, such a common line. So you did it, just surrender. I wonder if he watched the movie or if he got out beforehand. I hope you all enjoyed the movie. I got to see it like one time in Expedition, and that was it. Then it came out of nowhere. It just got to be it's so common. All right, let's find some of those dudes. There we go. Should be pretty okay against the likes of this Ezreal deck. I guess it's really going to come down to how quickly we can pop off the Sundisk, if we can do it before they start doing Kennen combos. It's like as I like quickly mulliganed away some of those cards, I wonder if there's ever a space to where you could just get by without having units on the board, and then they don't have any targets for their lightning rushes. I'm not sure if that's ever like a realistic strategy, but it'd be kind of interesting. Say, you don't get any targets, right? Sure. All right, can we line this up in a way to where the Xerath is starting to kill Kennons? I'm kind of okay with just passing. He's not doing a ton here. And then we can start dropping like 2 landmarks next turn. And then with the countdown 2s, we'll be ready to get the damages in with Xerath. I think that's good. It's unfortunate seeing the Eye of the Dragon come down, because now it's just like, it's not going to do anything. It's like, the countdowns are just going to start hitting the Eye. It's alright, we'll make the best of it. Here comes an attack, my dude. Alright, let's predict and then draw and then predict again. Right in Negation is the card I was wanting to find. I want to protect the Sun Disk from Homecomings. So I'm glad to have that one coming up. It's going to kill the thing, that's okay. And we'll play the Preservarium and then search again. Soothsayer makes things feel okay. I think she'll be fine here. Like, who cares? If he opens for 5, we're still pretty okay. That's reasonably far out of Ezreal range. So many spell shields. Okay. This is kind of a bummer. Maybe we played this the wrong way and we should have just... we were missing out on these 3 Xerath hits next turn. But, I mean, I think this is fine. Like, again, it's like, for the most part, we're just going to be chunking damage onto Eye of the Dragon, which doesn't matter a ton. Alright, Kennen, get your flips. This attack with the Clocklings, it doesn't feel very good. Let's slow our roll just a little bit. Sure. It's kind of close to getting that flipped Ezreal going, but we'll see. We'll see. Being mean to our Xerath and stuff, I don't really approve. I think this one's okay. I mean, do we just want to go ahead and... I guess it's tough, right? Like, he's going to get the Kennen. The Kennen goes back to his hand. He can play another Lightning Rush onto Xerath at that point. But it's like if we Ancient Hourglass him immediately, then he's going to just wake up the next turn and still be Lightning Rushed. That falls off at the end of the turn, right? Or is that a Forever Circle? Oh, it's a Forever Circle. Okay. Learn something new every day. How close is our Azir? If we just draw him, then he's good. Okay. Works for me. Counting on you, Golden Ambassador. Okay. So many lightning rushes. If he had an Ezreal down, these would be doing all kinds of crazy shit. Stopping at 3. He has 1 more in hand, so we can try to Rite of Negation this, but then he can still Mark of the Storm onto the stack. So, it's okay. You fought valiantly. Xerath. Dang. Been a lot sweeter if that was a was an Azir. Just get the movie started. Not a ton we can do here. We need to get like something happening, or he's eventually just going to kill us. But oh, okay. We're just passing. I think it's okay to pass. You're just gonna have to make a landmark on here. I mean, I can't imagine it happens in this match, but there is a world where we just flip this Sun Disk without an Azir. Lighted Ravine. Huh. That's an interesting one. I was picking up the landmark just with the intent to immediately blow it up, but with all these cannons on the board, I wonder if we can do better. Interesting. Let's see how this plays out. Maybe we should have led with the Waking Sands. It's like it should be like obvious that we're up to some kind of shenanigans, but not super bad though. It shouldn't be that tough to deduce that we have a quicksand, I guess, but the Blighted Ravine should be coming out of nowhere. Drop an emote on the bruh. Take it in, soak it in. Enjoy the emotes, my dude. This is like a situation where I was talking about in terms of Bard, right? Where you know, it doesn't, from our perspective, it doesn't really matter about how big this guy's units are. And we can just kind of sit around and ignore a lot of it, right? Even if these cannons were like 6/5s, it would be kind of sucky, but we could probably come out and just deal with it. To whereas, you know, if they had overwhelm instead of quick attack, they'd be much scarier. I think our opponent has left. He said, Sundisk player, I'm having too much fun. Please, please bring the movie upon me. I think he's out of here. People today, man. People don't want to play against the Sundisk, I guess. Rip him. All right, 4-0, pretty good. Pretty much at the top of the normal ladder. So I managed to watch the female version of Ghostbusters last night. I don't know what the deal with that movie was. At least maybe I'm just like thinking it in my head and not being right about it, but I thought it got like really, really shitty reviews, and I was just going into it expecting the worst. I mean, maybe that's I kind of know better. Like I worked in the movie theaters for I don't know like 5 or 6 years, and so you got kind of like a like you have to watch so many shitty movies that you just kind of get used to it, and then also you got to kind of take the reviews with a grain of salt, and it's not as like I don't know. It's kind of like tougher to pull off these days to where like all the reviews get aggregated. And so it's not just like Siskel and Ebert didn't like this movie or Siskel and Robert, whoever it is now. And it's not as bad, but I was pretty sure that it got reamed in the reviews. And I thought it was good. I thought it was good. It was better than expected. And so I don't know now if that's just because it was just good because let's just clear out this board. It's not even worth it, is it? It's gonna pass. I want to get the Unraveled Earth down. No, I was thinking in the world where he's like, this guy's just not doing anything, so there's a realistic chance he has to play an Azir. And so if we get to if we get to just say like put our dude down first, then he either just like holds. He has to run Azir into the landmark, or he just passes. At which point we can follow up with Waking Sands, and he's in the same space. Opponent has heavily disagreed with that kind of sentiment, but that was our angle. It's like I'm kind of okay with keeping Doomkeepers on the board. Like, our damage doesn't matter a ton, and it does eat up a space for their summons. Let's just hold back. Yeah. But no, it was good. Like, I couldn't piece together... there was the... oh man, do we just need to write at the Arcane Azir? We can't do enough about it. Okay. I had seen like a thing before as to where your taste in comedy gets like developed when you're like 15 or 16 or 17, and so like if you look at a show like Saturday Night Live, you tend to really like the cast from when you were that age, and then you tend to think all the rest of them are just shit. And so I grew up in kind of the era of Will Ferrell, like I would have been at the tail end of the Adam Sandler era into the beginnings of the Will Ferrell era. And so we've always had this this real appreciation for all of Will Ferrell's work, all Tina Fey's work as well. She was kind of like right in that same space, and like with the new cast of Saturday Night Lives, it's tough for me to like really get into them. There was a section of them where I just didn't really like, but I think for the most part now they've kind of like they've kind of turned on me as to where there's that group with like Bill Hader and Will Forte and Kate McKinnon and Kristen Wiig and all those people, and they put together some pretty fantastic work. So I was curious if though where that whole concept was going was if the people that didn't like this is starting to get brutal. The people that didn't like the female Ghostbusters movie just didn't like that kind of era of Saturday Night Live cast members. All right. Well, this one's getting tough. Xerath was a big addition. May be able to pull something off now that we found him. I'll quit rambling about Ghostbusters and shit and get back to the board at hand. He really outmaneuvered us well with this Azir. It's been causing tons of problems. Okay. I think we might be okay here, although it's gonna be kind of slow. We need to drop a Rite of the Arcane onto Irelia, and I'm not really excited about giving up a bunch of value to do it. I was hoping that we could play an Ancient Preparations and then follow up with a Rite of the Arcane. I'm a little worried that that's going to be too slow. What I feel like is going to happen is he's going to be attacking here, and then we're going to have to Ancient Hourglass our Xerath. And so I think we're just going to go with the Waking Sands. And then we'll try and pull off the Rite of the Arcane next turn. Wasn't completely terrible. Just prevented all. Our 1 health units don't really do anything anymore. It's only got 1 mana now. We could realistically go after this Irelia. It's like I really want to be able to blow up this landmark though. It's so awkward. It's like a almost nice place to drop the Hourglass, but only getting 3 damage on Irelia feels kind of bad. Okay, put the Unraveled Earth on top. Can't draw it, but it's gonna going to be reasonably useful here. Sad noises. Okay, he can Blade Surge Aurelia in and hit for 8, and I think that's okay. Or 10, I guess. We're not dead to this. Oh my gosh, that's so brutal. We should have hit the blades. Fuck. We just fucked ourselves on this one. I'm not used to that interaction to where now if we blow something up, our Xerath hit's gonna go on the Sand Soldier. That was not ideal. Alright. Alright, game, fine. Trying to talk about Ghostbusters and shit. Gotta deal with that. We'll get 2 more games in, right? When we do these things with the preview cards, I like to get in 6 instead of 8, and so we'll do 2 more. See how it goes. Ziggs and Aphelios. Okay, not familiar with that pairing. I think we can hang on to a Xerath. He'll be okay here. They tend to have a lot of 1 health units that he might be able to snipe off. Down here, Treasure Seeker. What up, Chip? Curious if how much Chip we're gonna see here in the immediate future with the addition of those new landmarks. He's good. There ain't nothing wrong with a 3/3 for 1 mana, so wouldn't be surprised to see Chip make an appearance. Okay, so we still have great blocks on this board. Sure. That's interesting sequencing. Does he ever try to attack here? And if he does, do we care? I don't think it's a big deal. Let's keep 1 back. Our health isn't in real danger. We can hook this thing if we need to, and I do want to Rite of Calling and pick up a champion. Welcome, Azir. Do they have ways to attack our Sun Disk? I guess he could hit it with that... What are you called? The destroy a landmark, make a 5/4? It would be a realistic card that's in their deck. Okay. Feels good. Feels like we have a decent amount of time here. We need some more interactivity to get these champions online, but I feel like we've thwarted a lot of their aggression.
You need not follow, but you will witness.
Targon is so big.
Targon's so big. You tell him, Chip. You tell him. All right, we need something. We need something. He's pretty drained out of cards at this point, though. I mean, he's only got 1 card in hand, and then whatever he just predicted to the top. Well,
Nothing will stand in my way.
not exactly what we were looking for in Quicksand, but I think we're fine. Do we want to go ahead and try and take down the Ziggs? Let's give it a turn. Unraveled Earth a day late and $1 short. Okay. We're gonna have to Quicksand out of this. Like, here's the easy block. I think I'm done with the Soothsayer. You can get out of here. The Azir's kind of worthless in this one, but I think it's okay. Let's take 3. Get that chip damage in? Sure. Now with the point of damage on Ziggs, we might be able to take him down through a Pale Cascade. See how that goes. Perfectly, I assure you. Nice. One away from the Azir flip. Gotta do some work for Xerath, though. Let's see what we find. Maybe we do end up wanting to drop a Rite of the Arcane this turn. Do we have the mana for all that? I want to summon a unit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we can do all that. Okay. I did the maths real good. Might get to watch that movie. Go get your popcorn. Get ready for it. He plays a dude that eats the first one. Oh, here it goes. Here it goes. Get that popcorn ready. Soak it in. Get ready for the animations. I'll be quiet so you can enjoy it all. Pretty cool. All right, ready to attack now. I'm ready. Bring it upon me. Oh, he had a naturalist. Say no thank you. My sun disk is protected. Oh, just taking it. All right, all right. GG. Get ourselves into that final battle. Feels pretty good. Wonder if people are still out there getting final battles, playing those expeditions. I've thought about it. Like I thought about putting together an expedition video here at the end, but I'm not going to do it. I'm just stopping at 500. I feel like 500's enough. No, it doesn't. It doesn't feel good just stopping at like 507. It's kind of stupid. And so I was like, yeah, I feel like we've covered all there is to cover. 500 is a good place to be. If y'all want to watch that, if you're new to us because we started playing Constructed, you can go see where we got our start, which was playing Expedition, and 500 of these dumb videos out there. You have to go and look at like playlists to figure it out, right? I sunset a lot of the videos because it doesn't. The YouTube algorithm stuff doesn't get really happy about showing videos from like a year and a half ago. So I did take down most of them from the public view, but they're over in the playlists if you ever want to learn how to draft from the best in the world. That's me. Okay. I'm pretty much the best in the world at everything, if you haven't picked up on that yet. Best in the world at talking trash on chess. Best in the world Expedition. Almost best in the world Constructed. We're getting really close. Alright, I'll take the landmark. Interesting that he just threw it in here. Now it's a Kindred. How much do we care about this stuff? I mean, not a ton. If he wants to trade his Reaper for the Endless Devout, and then he'll get to kill the Clockling off on the back end, that's kind of okay. The problem we start to run into is if we don't have enough kind of cannon fodder for when he kills a unit and then the mark goes on to Xerath. Like, I think we'll probably just have to kind of wait around on Xerath and just play him once he's ready to flip. Now that he's dropping Kindreds on us. So let's slow our roll here a little bit. I'm fine to get the Endless Devout into combat, but I want to build up our board presence.
Bingo.
Life feels a little safer with the Righted Negation. Still pretty dangerous to just be giving up Xerath, so... Okay. There's Azir. He's pretty close. Pretty close. Okay. We need to get like one more and then we can play the Azir. I don't want to overwrite any units here. That feels kind of bad. We can pull this off though. Like to where we attack with these and then we can overwrite the Clockling so he doesn't get the boost onto Kindred. That feels okay. We can drop our flipped Azir this turn so we can like say play the Unraveled Earth and then we'll follow up with Azir. Okay. And then if he starts playing stuff now, we'll be ready to drop the Xerath. Get ready to watch that movie again next turn. Shit's about to get real. Say, Bust, bring it upon me. I got some popcorn, but just not enough. Not enough to make it through the game. I need another movie to finish off the bowl. Xerath's ready. Gotta write him negation in case he tries to do crazy atrocity things. I think we're good. Is that how we want to do it? I mean, we have the quicksand, right? What if we do this? Look to take 6. I think that's fine. We're not dead to an atrocity with a board like this. Movie time. Did I really mess that up? Were we one short? Oh, I forgot it's not 10. It's not 10 anymore. Oops. Well, I assure you everything's okay. It's going just fine. He's going to come down. He's going to play that Desert Naturalist next turn, isn't he? He's going to say, I see your Sundisk at 1. Enjoy this. Sure. So man, we don't get the big booms off the Xerath since he's not going to be flipped. It's okay, but would have been cool if we had it. Does that one count? I mean, we're just going to hit the weakest unit anyways, and 3's enough to kill it, but... Get him, Azir.
Gently, gently.
All right, let's see where that gets us. He's pretty tapped out on mana now, so we can go back and play a Rite of the Arcane if we want. And I think we're good to just try and take down Nasus. We can... no, we're one short, aren't we? Because we played the Treasure Seeker. Okay. Well, we can hit him with the... this will still work. We can come back and hit him with the Sarcophagus unit and not the Treasure Seeker.
Step lightly.
Alright. I think we're probably good now. Draw some of these Emperor's cards. We've only got to see the Emperor's Prosperity today. Get some more of this Emperor's deck down. What do we got? 2 Rite of Negations? Okay. I feel pretty safe. Get them dog flips. Everybody's flipping today. Nasus, not quite there. Not quite the level 3 Nasus, you know. I'm sure that would feel good, but not good enough. GG. And so yeah, not a bad set of games. A technical 5-1 and not a 6-1, but you know, it's the Sundisk. We got to watch the movie 3 times, which is pretty good. And I mean, it's a tough deck. I forget what the other deck we just recently ran into to where we felt like it was kind of in the same. Oh, it was playing the Spectral Matron Cythria deck, as to where it doesn't do well in the ladder, but it probably never should. And I don't know if it would be like okay if there was a world to where that would be a good ladder deck in terms of health of the game, right? It feels like the thing that like strikes me in my mind is working kind of like that was when there was the Primeval Titan deck in Magic, to where you would, I don't remember exactly how it worked because I didn't fully play then, but it was the thing using like bounce lands and Primeval Titan to cheat on mana somehow. It was like you would use Primeval Titan to, I think you could get any land, right? So you get Primeval Titan to put 2 bounce lands onto the board, and then you could untap them before they were returned to hand. Some shit like that, and you used it to make a bunch of mana, and it was a load of no fun, and had some kind of like turn 1 kills attached to it. Like that's the first thing I think of as a world to where the Spectral Matron deck is good. And I think the same thing probably applies to this deck. And then, but it's tough, you know. I don't play a ton of this because I don't think it's that interesting of a deck, and it doesn't really follow a lot of the play patterns that I think are fun. But I mean, we just like crushed through a ton of games here today. Like I feel like the ladder has kind of sorted itself out in terms of the Sundisk, right? If you see like kind of the Aphelios decks running around and things having Overwhelm and the Talia Ziggs and Pantheon still being quite good about it, they all follow that rule and that theme of to where I have to have Overwhelm and I have to have Elusive. That is a result of the Sundisk. Like that's where that kind of piece of the meta came about. And you know, it's still kind of lingered, and so it's again, it's like so weird to me with this. It's like the meta is ready for it for the most part, but there's still a large part of the meta that just gets completely annihilated by this, and so it, you know, certainly has a place in the world, I guess, but I still think that Riot intended on this thing to be a meme, and it wasn't ever supposed to be that good. I mean, I feel like it's probably in a reasonably healthy space right now, and I loved it when it was a part of the meta, because you just couldn't play Darkness. You couldn't play these decks that had drains in it because they all just got slaughtered by this, and so I thought it was great. It was fun for me. But is there a world where this is a deck that belongs regularly in the ladder? I don't know. But we had some fun today. I hope you all enjoyed the movies. But nonetheless, we're getting rambly, and that is going to do it for us today. So I hope everyone enjoyed the video. You pulled this up for dinner and a movie with your significant other, and then you maybe learned a thing or two along the way, had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.